I'll say good morning, good afternoon, and in a few cases, potentially good evening. It goes without saying that, safety is an amazingly important topic. And we're in for a real treat today as we hear from the ASUS team as they tell their story. We'll get into some more formal introductions in just a sec, but I want to start by saying, ASUS is an incredible organization. They have a very powerful story to tell about how they think about the safety of their employees. And we're really looking forward to sharing that with everyone and talking about the ways in which the Safety Reports platform supports ASUS in that endeavor. To the folks that are dialed in, a couple things to remember. You have that Q&A box on your screen. Please let us know where you're dialing in from. It's always great to see where people are listening and participating from. And then as we move along through the discussion, please post your questions in real time. Our goal is to save probably 15 or so minutes on the back end for questions, and we'll monitor those as we go, but please don't hesitate to put those through. So as I mentioned, I'm Joe Barrow. I have the pleasure of managing the sales organization here at ToolWatch. From ASUS, we're joined by three folks. Travis Adams, who's the Environmental Health and Safety Manager. Matt Hudson, as the Safety Program Administrator, leads all of the Safety Reports efforts across the number of different military bases that are served by the ASUS team. And Randy Keys, as the Capital Construction Manager, runs and oversees construction operations across the 15 or so crews live at any one time across 7 states. So a little bit about Safety Reports. The company was founded in 2011. We've got a portfolio of 8 different applications, from inspections to observations, incident reporting, forms, and more. And we serve a number of different markets, from construction to insurance, independent safety consultants, and others. ToolWatch actually acquired Safety Reports this past February, and Safety Reports has been a perfect fit, as we grow together, given our approach to the market as a real, construction operations platform, which, affords businesses the flexibility to jump right in the deep end with a full suite of applications integrated to back-end systems tied together through single sign-on. Or, depending on your size and the scope of the organization, or really where you are in your safety journey, take smaller steps, start with 1 or 2 applications like inspections and observations, and we can grow with you as your business scales. So Travis, I'll turn it over to you and ask you to please give us an overview of ASUS as a Department of Defense contractor and the work you're doing to serve our country's military communities.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate you guys inviting us to join you on this webinar. It's an absolute pleasure for ASUS to be involved in this. We do believe in it, and we'll get into more of those talks here about why we believe in this so much and how it's helped us. But who is ASUS? We cover a lot of ground across the United States, like you've already alluded to. We work in 8 different states across the United States. We have 9 different military installations that we serve. And so what do? We do water and wastewater utilities type work. And I said that's really an understatement for all the amount of work that we do. But the military had failing infrastructure. They've been installed many, many years ago. And so we come in and we're able to help serve the military mission and repair, replace, construct, add new, demolish things that the military needs, and basically apply in a lot of cases innovative solutions to get these utilities up to current times and be the leading players in the utilities world. And so we feel very fortunate. We call ourselves, our slogan is serving those who serve. So it's, as a member of the military myself, still currently serving the United States Coast Guard, it's pretty gratifying working with this company that we do get to serve the military in this respect, and basically let our military members focus on the mission at hand and let us take care of their water and wastewater utility. At each location we operate at, we have 50-year contracts, which is very unique. It's not very common across the United States with contracts, so we feel very fortunate to have those as well. So lots of partners, from regulatory agencies to the military partners. We're constantly communicating and getting the message out, and safety is the forefront of everything that we do. It has to be in our work that we do. So that's a little bit about who ASUS is. I know you've already introduced Randy Keys and Matt Hudson. They're both integral parts of what makes ASUS the company that it is today. And we're going to get more in depth of what they do and some of the things that they do with safety reports.
Yeah, thanks so much, Travis. You know, kind of taking that a step further, it's great to get that overview as to what the business does, where you spend your time, and some of the intricacies around the contracts and contract length. You know, I think when it comes to safety, my sense is many people think about the big things, you know, the really serious, life-threatening things like trench collapses, which obviously are significant and super important to focus on. But there's a lot more to it. Can you give us, I guess, you know, your perspective on the state of safety around construction and utilities this year?
Yeah, and Joe, you hit on a good point there. I mean, a lot of people focus on the big blocks, if you will, for safety. But if knowing what you guys know and knowing what we know, operating day in and day out, everything is a big part of safety. One little item can go wrong and cause the whole thing to crumble. So in today's world, I think that we're connected in so many ways than we were in the past. We have so many more tools that we can utilize to help employees have better communication, to be better informed about the hazards on site. You know, a lot of people, they don't like to wait. We live, I call it the microwave society. We want it now. And so those are the things that safety reports, as we started using that, gave us those things. But the state of construction today and utilities and construction in general, we are building and growing in this country so fast. And so with that, we need a lot of workers. The project sites are jam-packed with contractors. So the hazards have gone up considerably. And so it takes an extra effort as leadership to take a step back and look in perspective and say, hey, what are we going to do with our team? How are we going to protect them? And what tools can we give them? What things can we put in their hands that's going to keep them informed, but not just do that to check the box. We got to have complete buy-in from that. And so that's one thing that I encourage our teams to do, is to have that buy-in. If it's important to you, you should be talking about safety all the time. And so as leaders, if we're not talking about it, it's not important. And Mr. Keys, I flip to you real quick on that question. You're the construction manager for us, and you and I have talks all the time. What do you think in today's world, where we're at today with construction and utilities in respect to safety?
I think what we're seeing in 2022, the construction industry is not immune from what we're seeing across the country, and that's a shortage of workforce. So your teams may not be as large as they were in the past, and they may not be as inexperienced. So you're at the same time taking on more inexperienced workers. You've got to try to train them at the same time. So you don't have that luxury of maybe having as an experienced a workforce as you saw in previous years, and maybe not the same size, which leads to maybe cutting corners or just, overlooking something that you would have happen done in the past. How we use safety reports is to make sure that we can get more information out to those younger workers, to make sure that they understand the importance of safety. It's constantly in front of them, but it's in a format that's very open for communication and that they can ask questions about. So I think where the general state is, you're looking at you're probably the most inexperienced workforce that we've seen in a long time. So there's even more of an onus on it to make sure that we train them up. And how are we going to do that? And, I think that we've been able to accomplish that using this safety platform.
Yeah, thanks a bunch, guys. I think it's an interesting point in the discussion to have a quick poll with those that are in attendance and really get a sense of what are some of the most common incidents they're seeing, and then we'll give a minute or so for the folks to answer that question. I'll comment on a few things you guys said that I found interesting. I think the term buy-in, it's not a throwaway term, right? It's there's times when you see organizations will look at safety is something, just it's a cost center. It's a we have to type operation, and that's troublesome from the jump. So it's great to hear you talk about that buy-in. And then Randy, from your comments there, it's the points about labor shortages is one that's pretty obvious, but I think when you throw in that what comes with that is a general lack of inexperience and how quickly that can lead to safety, or people who aren't as experienced, maybe more prone to cut corners or, think they know more than they really do. That's when things can get pretty dicey quickly. So appreciate everybody putting some answers in. We're going to push forward and then come back to and share everybody's answers in terms of the poll, which we just looked at. So jumping back, I think, Travis, one of the things I mentioned when I introduced safety reports as a company is how you can, start big or grow and scale over time. With the type of data that went out in the original invitation and that we see here, excuse me, you guys have certainly figured out scale, and not just in numbers of inspections and observations, but geographically as well, and that adds a different layer of complexity. Can you put some color to the data and how you guys have approached scale and pace with what you're attacking the safety program?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So these numbers are pretty significant in my mind, but if we go back, you see how many locations that we cover. It's still really significant, and we're proud of these numbers. Again, not to check the box and not just from a quantity standpoint, but quality. And so we have over 10,000 inspections conducted each year. We have approximately 300 employees across ASUS. So we have construction operations going on at all locations with subcontractors involved, our own construction teams. We have our own construction inspectors. I have my own safety team. We have our own safety team at all locations. They go out and do regular inspections. And so we have our construction foremen that are doing inspections on a very regular basis. So you can see how these numbers will quickly add up and roll up. And Randy's going to speak to some of our inspection checklists later and some of the questions that will come up, I'm sure. But we are constantly utilizing these safety inspection, the app and the safety inspection checklist. And so with 260 observations logged per year, if you think about that, beforehand, we were doing inspections, so we'd go out and we would document, write something down, and maybe put an Excel spreadsheet and capture this or that. But there was no trending or anything, and we'll talk about that later as well. But 260,000 times somebody has looked at something to say, is this safe or not? Does it meet the standards? That also relates to, am I keeping employees safe? And so it's really eye-opening when you see 260,000 times, 250,000 times and it's happening more than that someone is actually taking care of that. And the confidence that comes with that, I can't begin to tell you how that feels. It's a great feeling. But some of the examples that you have here and that we've talked about is, it helped us target heat-related illnesses. We've had 0 since 2019, and we work in the heat. Like we were talking earlier today, in Texas, it can be 112, 113 degrees, and we work in the Southeast, and it's the humidity is 90%, and it's 95, 100 degrees, and it's really significant. But with these tools, we've been able to stamp those things out, and it's a non-issue for us. So when you look at that and you see how many inspections we do, how many different times that we are actually looking at something, the repetition, I think safety, when you have repetition, that's really good. it's continuing to keep that in the forefront of your employees' minds, and it's that muscle memory. And so we're very proud of that, and are grateful for what the tool has provided to us.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at these numbers and, 10,000's impressive, 260 even more so. But, not knowing anything about, if I just looked at this slide and I didn't know anything about your business, I could pretty quickly infer that 260,000 observations to me screams culture, right? To your point, it's not a check the box. You can't do that many observations if safety isn't part of the business's culture. So I mean, to me, kudos to you and the team, as well as everybody who executes on that in the field. It's really impressive. So I think we may have some answers to our poll results. So as I'm seeing them here, it looks like for some of the, let me just pull this over real quick. Some of the more common or serious incidents, right? So 19% hand and extremity injuries. It's kind of interesting. Slips or trips, 22. Falls, 27%. Machinery or equipment accidents, 14%. Some of the more obvious things here around slips, trips, and falls, I think, everybody sort of thinks of that. But, and some of the other ones, we've talked about heat, but I think that hand and extremity may on the surface appear to be a minor thing, but if you can't use your hands, you can't do much else. Certainly not something to be overlooked. But again, my takeaway for this personally is I'm not surprised to see the variation and the spread with these numbers. The takeaway for me here is that in industry, there's still a lot of work to do to continue to drive these numbers down to zero. And, from a safety reports perspective, as a partner, not just to you guys, but to a number of other businesses, we really appreciate the grind everybody goes through on a day-to-day basis to make this a priority. So I think this is where we'll probably really dig in deep. The numbers we saw are really impressive. But to me, what's really important, and I think why we had so many people register for this webinar, is we really want to know how you execute. So I think this is a great opportunity to have you guys chat through at a high level on some of the topics we've spoke about, and then maybe Matt and Randy dig in and we can hear the details behind some of the data that we looked at earlier. So I'll kick it back to you guys, and I'm sure we'll spend a decent amount of time just chatting through this topic. I'll let you have at it.
All right, Joe, thanks. So I'll take it from the high view. And as an environmental health and safety manager, it's important that we have a safety inspection program so that we can understand what's going on in the field. Are we doing it right? Are we getting our employees the right tools? Do they have the right information? Are they informed properly? And then also getting the feedback from them in the field. As we see pictures and as we see responses to corrective actions, we can tell what's going on with our safety program as a whole. So safety inspections is huge for us. So the main things I tell my employees that they're on the safety side, their top two priorities are safety inspections and training. Let's make sure our guys have the right tools in their hands. Let's make sure that they're trained on them properly. And if we find something where they're not, let's remedy that immediately. So safety inspections and safety training, and also job safety analysis. When we go out to do different jobs, we have some very unique jobs sometimes, and it requires a specific plan to do that. So we do a lot of the job safety analysis. And then we're going to get into some of the admin portal of how we use safety reports in just a bit. But as how we use the safety reports apps is we use it every day. The inspection app being the biggest part of our safety program. It links us across the entire company, from our construction teams for our daily operations, running the water and wastewater operations, to our leadership that's running each individual subsidiary that we're located at, and even corporate levels as we see things come in almost real time. And so I can't stress enough how important the safety inspection program is to us as a company. And I smiled when you said culture earlier, Joe. because I remember sitting with the man on my screen. He's right below me, Randy Keys, and also my boss at the time, and said, we're going to change the safety culture of this company. And we did that together as we listened to employees and we utilized these apps and these programs. There's many other things that we've done, but I will say this, that we were able to get data back into us so that we could determine what's going on, where we actually needed to make the tweaks to change that culture. It's actually really cool sitting here today and thinking about those conversations that were had back in 2018. We weren't a bad company, but we had complete buy-in as leadership, but we were going to change the safety culture to let employees know that we care about you, that is, you are somebody's husband or somebody's wife or somebody's son or somebody's daughter or what have you, that you're coming to work and we're going to send you back the same way that you came. And so when you start thinking about it in those terms, and time is money, schedule needs to be met, all those things need to still happen, but it can always be done safely. So we're able to use these safety reports. I'm gonna let Randy go into the main tools that we use, the customized checklist for the inspections. And I'll let Randy talk about that for just a second and how it's changed him and his team.
Thanks, Travis. One of the things that Travis mentioned, in 2018, we were growing at a pretty good rate with our internal construction crews, and we got to a point where we needed something to bind us together from a safety standpoint. So the use of the safety report platform did that for us. And Travis mentioned one of the biggest applications we use. We created a pre and post inspection report. So the whole purpose of that was the thought of, we begin the day with safety, we end the day with safety. So our pre-inspection checklist, each one of our teams does every day, and we encourage the foreman, once he becomes spun up in it, to share it with the other team. And that is a checklist that we worked on, created it, put it into this platform that they use to evaluate their site before they start work every day. And part of that platform was, make sure we got the right depth, depth indicated, or we've got trench, protection, things like that. But the bigger part of it was creating communication within that team, so that report then identifies all of our hazards. So we think of that as our hazard awareness for the day, looking at that, evaluating our sites, knowing what those hazards are. And that checklist, they go down it, and then they have a way of documenting and going through. And sometimes the simplest questions are the ones we forget. So you've got those every day in front of you. And then we turn around at the end of the day, and with our post-inspection report, is making sure that we have shut that site down and we've verified it. And these all go to our safety coordinators. So at the end of the day, we've left that site. We're on a government installation, so we have soldiers that are going to be around there, families are going to be around there, any civilians or workers, government workers, anybody could be around our site. We've left it in a way that we know, that Travis knows without even being there, that I know without even being there, that site is safe. And we haven't left an unsafe situation for anybody to encounter at the end of the day. One of the other benefits we use for this, for our pre-inspection report, everybody understands, if you have an OSHA site visit, you can take the most seasoned professional foreman in the world. Everybody's going to be nervous when OSHA comes on site. And a way to create some dialogue, we can instantly say to whoever comes up and wants to talk about their site, let me pull up my pre-inspection checklist and let me go through how I evaluated my site for the day. Boom, we're just going down the questions and there the answers are. So we've used that tool to show not only our team that we're taking care of them safe, but we can show somebody else, all the way up to having something as official as an OSHA inspection. So that's probably been one of the things that, from my standpoint, I want to go home every night knowing our crews are doing work safe. I want to be that during the day, and we can go back through any incident to the day and track it and make sure, and look at the questions the way they were answered. And if we have a weakness, we can address it. So for me, that's probably the utmost one. And then, the use of our toolbox talks, so many times, from a toolbox talk, it used to be a piece of paper that, you took out to the site, everybody signed it. It could be a little impersonal. we can actually tailor those talks now and get them into the hands of our employees. We have a way of tracking. So if somebody's not there that day, we have a way of tracking to make sure they get that information when they come back to work, and they can go in and check off that toolbox talk. But we can put real-time information in those toolbox talks through this reporting app that allows them to know, hey, this may have been something that came up during the day at one of our other locations. We can implement something in there, and we can make it real time. It's not just something that they're pulling off, say, it's just a check the box thing. It can be something that actually happened, and we can say, hey, we need to address this as a team. And it allows our team to know that we're looking after from a senior leadership standpoint, all the way down through our EH&S team, that there's a group there that's putting forward the thoughts and the processes to say, hey, the most important thing is that you guys go home safe at the end of the day. We're going to start the day safe. We're going to end the day safe. So for me, those two applications are just extremely important, and they've been just very, very invaluable for us over these last 3 years.
Yeah, a quick comment on that. It's interesting to hear you talk about the pre and post inspection. It's not unlike at all aviation. You know, if you look back to the early days of aviation, you'd see a very experienced pilot have a crash on takeoff, and for a very silly mistake, or something like an aileron was in the wrong position. And that was the advent of the pre-flight walk around that you see captains do today at every airport in the United States. It's the same principle. It's really cool to hear you talk through that.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing to point out is, Matt, I don't know if your audio is going to work. We'll try it, but Matt Hudson is my safety program administrator, and he's at the brunt of all of our custom checklists that we do. So Matt, can you speak a little bit about the power of the custom checklist and how that has worked for us and for you as you have deployed these out for the teams to use?
All right, we'll give this a try. Can you
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. As far as our custom checklist go, it's really up to the managers, or even the guys in the field. If they identify something that they want to be able to keep track of with those checklists, it's very simple for me to go in there, create these checklists. I will send them to safety reports out of the house, and they're very quick in getting them uploaded once we lay everything out. They provide you with a template, so it's very easy to do it, but it's a great tool to be able to, you know, fine tune for your very specific needs. You know, not everybody's doing underground utilities like we are. You might be doing something a little bit different, but you know, a standard checklist which they provide, those are great. We use those a lot as well, but to be able to customize to exactly what we specifically need is a great tool.
Great responses there, Matt. And also, you know, in one of those checklists, Joe, and one of the things to point out is, I don't think anybody on this webinar was prepared for the COVID pandemic. And so when that came along, it was like, you know, we need to do this. We need to get something in the hands of the employees who need this. So, hey, no problem. We got it. We did toolbox talks. We did custom safety inspection checklists. We actually make that a part of our daily checklist now to make sure that the COVID procedures are being followed and they answer those. So, you know, it allows us to spin on a dime when we need to make quick changes. And so that helps our senior leadership. We bring solutions to them rather than bringing problems. And so for us that are you know, out supporting the rest of the teams and making sure that we're operational, Randy in his case managing construction, well, we're not having to sit in meetings hours upon hours trying to develop something and develop a plan. We've already got it. We've got the tools, and so it has helped us keep moving in a very efficient manner, but very effective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really amazing story. I mean, you're doing all this work, and to the untrained eye, you may not have a perspective on the amount of data that generates. Can you talk a little bit about this from a reporting perspective, administratively? You know, how do you manage that centrally, but also in the distributed environment with which you guys work?
Right. Good question. So the data comes in, we've talked about how many inspections we do. It comes in droves. And so it's not like that Matt Hudson or the senior leadership are sitting there waiting for an inspection report to come in on a daily basis. We are able to spot check most of those and look through those, but the data that we utilize, Matt runs monthly reports to look at different things, and we pull it out of the report generators, out of safety reports using the admin function. And so I go back early days, well, I say early days, back in 2019, because of the way that we're set up across the United States and different subsidiaries, but we need to track those separately. We worked the safety reports hand in hand, and it was awesome, the partnership that we had there. And they listened. You guys, Safety Reports and Toolwatch listened to us and said, hey, we're going to help you out there. And they quickly made helped us make the admin features, the corporate admin, so we could see every one of our locations broken out specifically. So we set up the automated reports inside of the report generator. There's something, I guess this is a big statement right here. There's something working for us when we're not thinking about it. There's something helping get us data in our hand from where we've got so many other things going on. All of a sudden, an email shows up and I can see my corrective action tracking that we need to take care of. I call Matt or shoot Matt an email and say, hey, Matt, can you get on these corrective actions? Check with our team what's going on. It happens. So we're not forgetting those things. They may go a little bit for us before we address it, but we're not completely forgetting those. I can go to Mr. Keys and tell him, hey, our teams are forgetting to do their pre-excavation inspections, and it's evident or their post-excavation, because it's really evident you've got 1,000 pre-excavations, but you only got 500 post.
Yeah.
And so we're able to use that data to help adjust on the fly.
Yeah, like all data, right? Data's nothing more than data. It's what you do with it, and you're able to do more with it if it's presented in a manner that's easy to consume. So
right.
You brought up some really good points there, and I'll just take a real quick pause. This kind of probably last 10 minutes may have generated some questions. So just a reminder to all the folks listening, please continue to put some of those questions in the Q&A box there in the application, the Zoom app. So a couple of things you mentioned about, COVID and remote. We'll take maybe, I think this is about a 1.5 minute, 2-minute video where we'll actually see the platform in action and hear a little more about it and what that can look like. So I'll let this run and then we'll push forward after this, just real quick.
Safety Reports is a set of tools that allows them to do safety inspections, job safety analysis, observations, incident reporting, and various other safety functions. We're really focused on the safety professional, no matter what industry they might be in. Virtual Safety Reports really takes advantage of some of the latest technology. One of the things we look to do is take that newer technology and bring it into Safety Reports and enhance our Safety Reports inspection app.
The VSR comes free with your subscription. You don't need to download anything extra. There's a way that you can send that link via text or email, and the recipient on the other end, they click on, and it automatically starts a live stream with the audio and videos.
Hey Bob, Steve here. Let's take a look at that new fuel tank you guys had set up on your site, if you don't mind. Can we walk over towards that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, stop right there if you don't mind. Just center that tank if you would. Drop the camera just a touch. All right, perfect. I want to snap a picture of that for the report. All right, I got that photo. So let's go ahead, if you don't mind. Let's take a little bit closer look at the electrical setup on that. Focus in on that cord just a little bit. Does that look like it's frayed to you, or maybe the sheathing pulled loose?
Yes, it is.
All right, hold on a second. Let me get a picture of that for the report.
They're actually taking the photo from the live stream, which will then automatically upload into the report for you. It's revolutionizing the way companies inspect.
A super easy process for them to get started, get launched, and start conducting the inspection as if you were there. And Safety Reports, it should be your one-stop safety product. We're constantly developing and coming up with new ideas.
We're always trying to bring in a new technology, new innovation, in order to keep our customers kind of on that leading edge to help with better products and services.
To learn more about Safety Reports, you go to safety-reports.com. You can book a demo or even download a free version of the app and try it out for free. You can call us at 402-403-6575, and we're happy to help. We look forward to hearing from you.
So yeah, so it's really interesting. I think I'm always amazed seeing that sort of someone in an office in real time with somebody in the field being able to collect that kind of data. It supports a lot of what you guys are seeing around, not just your distributed environment, but the amount and scale and pace with which you can do it. I think probably, and I'm looking at time here, we've probably covered a lot of this already. Maybe I'll push forward and try to get some perspective. How did you guys find safety reports? If you can put a little color to that, and how did you come to choose it as a solution?
Yeah, real quick, in 2018, I remember talking to my boss at the time. We had an incident that happened where one of our employees got really, or almost got really hurt, really badly hurt. And it was an eye-opening time for us to say, all right, what can we do to better ourselves? And I talked a little bit about that already. I remember sitting down with my boss and I'm thinking, I'm going to find something for us that we can do inspections rather than just a safety team going out and doing inspections and we see snapshots, throughout the month or the year. Let's get this into the hands of our teams that are actually working daily. And so spinning that idea up with my boss and leadership and talking it up, I simply Googled mobile safety inspections. And I remember finding safety reports and sitting at dinner that night with my boss and saying, hey, I think this is something real right here. Can I get the approval to do a demo? And that's when I got in touch with Mr. Steve Polich, and started the communication with safety reports at the time. And man, every time I asked a question, I was like, hey, do we have something do you guys have something that does this? Yeah, look at this. And it just kept blowing my mind. And so that's how it started. And I will say this, there are the apps that you download, and every one of us know that you download the apps and it says, oh, it does this, it does that. And after a couple of weeks, you're like, man, this just really, it doesn't do everything I want it to do. And there's really nobody to talk to figure out how to take it to the next level. And this is what other safety professionals are looking at and really what they need. And some of those are just seeing data only. And so what I remember about my relationship and through the years with safety reports and now ToolWatch is that they listen to me. And I latched onto that 100%. And we continue to build on that relationship, Joe. But because of something that happened that was in our company with an injury, we did not want to ever be back there again. And all of our leadership leaned into this and said, we will be different. We will change that safety culture. And we all got behind it. And so here we are 4 years later. And it's a great thing.
Yeah, well, we certainly appreciate the partnership, and for better or for worse, you have an event of significance that, circles the wagons and gets everybody on the same page. But it's great to see kind of having a challenging event like that, and not only addressing it and plugging gaps where they may or may not have been, but changing culture. We do have another poll real quick. We'd love to hear from the audience about the types of things you're doing from a safety perspective, and like last time, we'll share these as we go forward. I'll push forward here on the slide. So I'd say Travis and team, it's one thing to have a program, but it's an entirely different thing. You've used the term, and we've used the term culture a couple times. It's very different to take that program to where it takes on a life of its own and changes over the time with the business. Can you talk a little bit about how that's happened within the organization? I'm sure there's been a number of things impacting that.
Yeah, I could talk for days on that, and myself, Randy Keys, and Matt on this webinar with you guys could talk for days on this. But simply put, I'm gonna summarize it in this. Every day we're able to go home now with a confidence, knowing that our employees have the right tools in their hand. They're informed, they're not without, and that they're going to go home to their families each and every night because they are following those policies and procedures set in place. And it's not a document on the shelf somewhere. It's active. Showed it in these videos. This is in your hand, and everything that we do, whether it be directions, travel, or whatever, we've got this phone in our hands. And that is what's so cool about the tools that we utilize. People don't want safety to slow them down. and including our employees, right? They don't want anything else added to them. But I will tell you this, initially, I'm not going to say it's been all roses and daisies. But initially there was not pushback, but it was like, gosh, I've got something else I've got to do now. But when they saw the benefits that this has and how they can document their work, it then established a sense of pride. And something that I couldn't generate, Randy couldn't generate, Matt can't push on them, that is something that the employees came to on their own. And because of changing that culture, because of the way we communicate, this tool has helped pull us together, and it's changed us in so many ways. Like I said, I could talk for days about where we are at today and how much better we are and the communication that we have today. But it is great to have that confidence, knowing that you'll put your team on anything. You know, there are those that you have a team that somebody says, hey, you think your team can go up against them? Like, I don't know, man. I'd put them up against anybody because they do it right each and every time. And so if we see something that is on these inspections or on, we find out through a training that something's not working, or we see something in inspection that is not right, we correct that immediately. And so they do mess up sometimes, but we're able to catch that through the inspections and see the photo documentation. But simply put, confidence in our safety program, knowing that our employees are going to be okay.
Yeah, thank you. And the term pride is a good one. I think oftentimes, as these programs get rolled out or they evolve, you think of the end user and you've got this, man or woman in the construction space that just have this persona of rough, tough, just get the job done at whatever cost. But I don't care who it is or what the job is, everybody's got a sense of pride. And when you can expose that, it just kind of flows across everything they do. It's really cool to hear you use that term and can see it in the numbers, how it's played itself out. So what's next, right? There's, as you say, you're at a number of military bases across 8 states. They continue to grow and evolve. Where do you see things going in the future?
Yeah, I think my connections with Safety Approach and Toolbox, they've said, hey, Travis, you got to hold up a little bit. We're still trying to get to those ideas that you had back in 2019 because I was so excited about it. But what's next for us? I mean, we're going to continue to utilize the product as we grow. We're growing leaps and bounds right now with some of the contracts and work that we're doing across the United States. But we're also looking back, and we're looking to our partners in construction to help make them better. We want to share this with others, our success with the military partners that we have, with their fire departments, with their local utility crews and engineering teams. We want to share that. And so we invite folks to our trainings that we have. We do safety rodeos each year. And so we invite them. And so we continue to help others get better, not just continually focus on ourselves, because we do believe in safety. We want to make sure that others are seeing the things that they can do to protect their employees as well. But one of the other features that Safety Reports has is the API feature, where we have our own database that we track a lot of information in. And so we're looking at that, of how we can pull information in and import that into our database that we already have, whether it be dashboards or inspection data, corrective actions. It's limitless. So I say the sky's the limit, Joe, based on what I've seen for the past 4 years, because you guys are listening to the safety professionals and hearing, hey, if we had this. And so sometimes you guys are already creating things and pushing them out. I have tested I think every tool that you have. Me and my team have tested that, and it is impressive. And some things work directly for us, but some of the others that we don't use would be a direct fit for someone else. But we're looking forward to what you guys are going to continue to bring to us that will continue to enhance our programs.
No, we appreciate that. And that's the exciting part, right? I mean, there's times when we work with businesses that may be, discipline specific needs. But, what's at the foundation of all that growth for us is the communication with partners like you guys. So we certainly appreciate that. So we had that other poll come through about the types of other technologies or things people are using. And, as anticipated, there's a pretty good spread, everything from, some that are using our platform, others, pen and paper, Excel tracking, reporting, other safety products. I think, the point there is, regardless of what you're using, you can deploy a lot of the things that Travis and Randy and Matt have said around, commitment, communication, going past just, the basics to achieve the results that you need. And then I guess lastly, excuse me, we've got people listening from all over. What sort of advice would you guys, give either people, looking to improve their existing programs? I would imagine there's nobody, or hope there's nobody on the line that do not have a current program, but as others that look to expand and grow, what sort of advice would you give to our listeners today?
Mr. Keys, I want to point to you first, and then I'll finish it up. But what do you think there?
I think the biggest thing is communication between whether it's management in the field, but we use this platform to promote communication. And if your field people feel like that there's that they're totally separated from management, they don't understand the importance of safety. They may not understand how important we take it, or where it's seen. They just think it's something that maybe that's just spoke about but not really followed through. So improving that communication, and we use this tool to pass on and create that communication. I think the other, with communication comes involvement. When we talked about our pre and post inspection reports, when we put that out, we worked on it. We put it out to our teams and, to our foremen and to our superintendents and said, what do you think? They came back and said, hey, we like this, this, and this, but we think we need to add this, this, and this. So we involved them in it, and now they're part of this platform as well. So communication, involvement, and that led into now your safety team is not the adversary when they come on site. So when they come on site, they're a partner. They're part of the team. They're not shutting the doors on the excavators and turning the machine up so that they can act like they don't want to talk to them. They're getting out of the equipment now. They're going to our safety coordinators and they're saying, hey, anything you want to look at? There's a partnership there. So that starts with communication and involvement. And now all of a sudden we've got everybody buying into the same thing. And I think that's one of the changes that we've seen through this platform. It's allowed us to get information into their hands. When we talk about things, we know that they know that we're targeting things to keep them safe. They know that our goal, and my goal is for my team, is to be known as the safety leader on base. So how can I do that from a standpoint of being the most efficient? And that's, using the safety report tool to get communication out to those people in the field and getting their involvement in it, making sure they can ask questions. Sometimes they come back and go, hey, this question doesn't do us any good, or we don't understand. Now we've got involvement. Now we got that buy-in. Now we have a true safety program. I think that's been the biggest change. If I could recommend the biggest thing is creating that communication with your team in the field and getting their involvement. If you do that, you'll get a buy-in to your program. They'll understand that it's not, and you're not just checking a box. And when people check a box, it's not a program. It's just something they do. Yeah. When we create that communication, now they know they're actually looking out for me. We've put this in, or we've talked to them about this because they want to make sure I go home safe every night. And when that becomes important to them, then they, now the company cares about you. Now you've got a total buy-in, and safety's not, it's not an inconvenience. Now it's a byproduct of production, and that's really what I could recommend the most. Communication involved.
That's really well said. I mean, I think it's not unlike a good coach or a good teacher. Right? Comms have to be super consistent and clear. Like it's a pull, it's not a push. And when it is a push, and you're up in somebody's face all the time, to your point, that's when they turn their back and safety becomes a nag. And then that's when, accidents happen and people get lazy with it. You know, the only thing I'd add there is for me personally, in being able to observe you guys and interact, is you're either really good actors or you actually like each other a lot. And I kind of say that in tongue in cheek, but I think that that's the kind of thing that somebody in the field, whether they're, you know, performing labor or they're a safety related foreman or foreperson, that works its way down through the organization as well. And I think it's equally as important.
Yeah, we're definitely not really good actors. But you know, this is case in point. I mean, to have the environmental health and safety manager and the construction manager and another safety professional on the team, and to hear how our construction manager, that's why I wanted Randy on this webinar. It's a success, guys. Not that all construction managers and EHS managers don't get along, but you know, we tend to be seen on the EHS side of the house as slowing the process down. It's always requirements there. But Randy hit on that. We developed that relationship at the senior leadership level first, and we all said, hey, we've linked arms, we're going to do this. And then we took it to our employees in the field. We don't just send them reports and data for them to read. We go out and meet them in the field where they are. And that showing them that we care about what they do, we listen to them, you develop that relationship, but you also hold them accountable through utilizing tools like this. And Matt said this the other day, Matt Hudson, is that it gives our employees that sense of ownership, that this is something that they're responsible for. And so give your employees a sense of ownership, be there for them, develop that relationship, hold them accountable, but meet them out there where they are.
Yeah, super important. And guys, I want to try to address one or two questions here at the end. There's one here. Do you utilize the program for just your company, or do you use it with any other vendors or subs?
We do both. So we recommend it. They don't send us their data, but we have recommended this to some of our subcontractors, and they have actually reached out and started using the program. Got
it. Okay. And you've touched on this a couple times, but John was kind enough to pop the question in here, so I'll state it. Would you say senior management's commitment to safety is critical in changing your safety culture? And if so, how did you get their buy-in?
So this is kind of a, for those of you that don't have that, I came into this company. That's why I love this company so much, why it's stuck, is because my senior leadership already believed in it. They were already bought into it. It was not just a check the box type thing. So we work together. And yes, the answer to that is absolutely. If you do not have senior leadership buy-in, it's going to be very difficult for you to push anything. And I'll even go down, other than senior leadership, when you have, if you're talking construction or supervisors, superintendents, construction foremen, if they're not bought into it, if you're not talking about it and it's not important, you're never going to get that buy-in. And how do you get there? And sometimes it's difficult, but we got there because of our leadership was all bound together in this, knowing that it's the right thing to do. It's an important to keep our employees safe. So I can't stress that enough. Communicate at the top level, but don't just leave it there. Make sure that it's important all the way across the board. But if it's important to you, you're going to be talking about it often in every meeting that you get to. So continue to keep that at the forefront of everything that you do every day.
Yeah, like everything, right? There's always a lot of programs and plans put in place, but it's got to be a living, breathing thing. And you guys have clearly done an amazing job at that. So we're backing up to the top of the hour, and I want to make sure I do some appropriate and well-deserved thank yous. I'd say initially and firstly to all those who have taken the time out of their day to dial in and listen and participate. We really appreciate it. You know, from a tool watch and safety reports perspective, the goal here is to really help build awareness, generate some thought leadership and discussion, but most importantly, take some of the really interesting and well done things that the ASUS team has done and deploy them within your own environment where appropriate. We do have a number of questions here that we'll do our best to collate and send out to the attendees. So please keep an eye out for that, as well as a thank you from us. But most importantly, to Travis and Randy and Matt, outside of, thanking you for your just participation and preparation in today to make this go very well and to be valuable to those who have joined. Most importantly, thanks for your commitment to safety. Thanks for what you're doing across all the military bases you serve and for the Department of Defense. It's great to have you guys as a partner. It's very humbling for us, and I don't say that tongue in cheek in any way. So thanks for your participation. Thanks for your work. We look forward to doing more with you guys in the future.
Well, thank you guys for bringing such a great tool that has completely transformed the safety programs across, heck, I don't know how many countries you're operating in now, but you truly will probably never know how many lives you've saved through doing getting some of the tools that you have right now. And that's got to be humbling for you as well. So, but we do appreciate the outstanding tool and what this has done for the safety community and for the employees that are out there working day in and day out and in hazardous ways. So I really appreciate that. So from ASUS and all of us, really appreciate the invite to this and glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So for my call, we're at 1:59, bordering on 2 o'clock. We will stop the webinar here. For those that may have additional questions, you've got some email addresses. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to anybody and connect, and look forward to growing this community and keeping the discussion going. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a great afternoon. We appreciate your time.
Bye-bye. Thanks.